Hey, Zenny62's Joseph here. So earlier today, there was the traditional Monday morning press conference following the game. And so John Gruden was asked several questions, and here are my takeaways. Um, the one thing that I've been critical of with regards to the Raiders has always been their secondary, their defense. So midway through the press conference, he did uh, answer some of the questions with regarding that. And so he stated that earlier this morning, he goes, very early this morning, we got together and talked about the defense. And the way he spoke about it give me the impression that it was a stern conversation. It was a conversation that probably, just by the scope of the things he said preceding that, was that they are definitely looking to make some changes. He reiterated that they're determined to get better. And so the obvious question was, well, how is that going to happen if you continue doing what you're doing or continue having the same, let's say, coaching staff? Mainly the defensive coordinator, Paul Guenther. And so he reiterated he was determined that things were going to change. And he looked pretty serious about that. Now, how is that going to change if we're using the same personnel? Or maybe, again, I always say there's a coaching deficiency from my perspective. And he proceeded to say that, he suspects that there's going to be some possible personnel changes in terms of players. And so that leads me to believe, are we planning some moves during the trade deadline? And what would those moves be? Now, I brought up in a previous video that Carlos Dunlap seems very unhappy and seemed to essentially quit the team yesterday. He's tired of playing, I guess, for a struggling team like the Bengals. And he wants out. He put his house up for sale. And we know that Paul Guenther, being a former Cincinnati Bengal, is probably familiar with Carlos. And Carlos Dunlap is a two-time Pro Bowl MVP. And so potentially we have him as a potential target. Other than that, I would say look for additional changes to be made. The one thing that we got to remember is that we signed with Irving to the former Dallas Cowboy defensive player to the practice squad. You're not going to keep that guy in the practice squad for long. And so I suspect that he's going to be thought of as a possible replacement for somebody in the next week or two. And we also signed weeks ago Breland Speaks, the former Kansas City Chief. And again, we never heard from him after the signing. And so he was also signed to the practice squad. So I don't know what's going there. But those are two defensive players that potentially could be slotted in somewhere. The other thing, and this is the part of the video that many of you don't like to discuss, but I'm going to discuss it. So if you like this part, give it a thumbs up, and you can end your viewing of this video now. And so the other things that were brought up several times from different journalists that were on the live feed was with regards to their COVID-19 situation, the violations of the safety protocols. And he was very animated in stating that they're doing everything possible to let's say what he calls beat the virus, crush the virus, and that they changed their whole training facility to accommodate that. Whether or not he feels it's adequate enough or not, obviously he feels it is, but obviously it's not. Because the Raiders are only a handful of teams that consistently have issues with this. And then you have a situation with that fundraising event. You have a situation where now reports are coming out that Trent Brown didn't wear his tracking device, and that's why the additional 4 linebackers had to go in a safety protocol situation. So there's some disconnect there that people possibly at the Raider organization are not doing their jobs. John's the type of coach that he's all in on football. This additional stuff is probably something beyond his purview that, obviously no one expected for any of us to go through this. And the one thing that always irritates me is that you're saying, well, we're doing everything great or possible. And obviously you're not. And it kind of reminds me of the person that he made reference to. And John Gruden brings up Donald Trump. Well, Donald Trump, for months, was telling us this was no big deal. And then he went on to say that it was a fake virus conjured up by the Democrats. But he got the virus. So, and then when John keeps saying, oh, we're going to crush the virus and we're wearing crush the virus t-shirts, well, so what? How does that make wearing a t-shirt or saying that you're going to crush the virus? These are just words. And I know John's very good at speaking to the press. He's a media guy, he's a TV guy in recent years. He knows what to say. But the reality is you can say one thing, but what are the actions that are preceding those words? Obviously, they're not very good because the Raiders look to be in serious trouble with the league. Whether or not that will be addressed during the season or after the season, it's we'll all find out. But just because you say you're gonna crush the virus, okay, well, you have to follow certain criteria for that to happen. And so I think that was stupid for him to bring up Donald Trump, even if it was in reference to, well, even the president got it. Well, the president got it because he never wanted to wear a face mask. So if your premise was that he got it because he didn't wear a face mask and neither are my players, that's a very stupid premise. So just some thoughts there, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and keep it here on Zenny62.